There are always two ways to look at something, always two sides to every story. And you need to hear both before arriving at a conclusion. But when each side claims to be right, when each side claims to be the victim, who does one really believe? This is a question the world faces today as the streets of Jerusalem and Gaza echo with sounds of gunfire and warning sirens. The clashes which began weeks ago are showing no signs of abating. On one side are the Palestinians who claim to be fighting for their land. On the other side is Israel, which claims to be only protecting itself from Palestinian aggression. The story is more complex than what meets the eye. This is not just a clash between a few protesters and a few troops over a few blocks of land. This has become a clash of civilizations, of two people who've always been at odds with each other. And this clash could soon engulf the entire region if both sides do not reach a consensus. Let me begin with the latest. The exchange of fire between Palestinian militants and the Israeli military continues. On Monday night, more than 300 rockets were fired from Gaza towards Israel. Most of them were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome system. The Iron Dome is an all-weather air defense system. It is designed to counter short-range rockets and artillery shells. And it operates day and night, even in bad weather. It can reportedly respond to multiple threats simultaneously. So this Iron Dome intercepted most of the rockets that flew from Gaza, but not all of them. 2 Israelis are said to have died in the attacks. According to Reuters, both victims were women. The images have emerged now. They show paramedics rushing bodies of those injured in the attack to a nearby hospital. Several other Israeli locals, most of them old, were also injured in the attack.
We're standing in Escalation, a city in southern Israel. The house behind me was hit by a rocket overnight fired from Gaza by terrorists. It is one of more than 300 rockets fired from Gaza at Israel. Fortunately, more than 90% of rockets have been intercepted by the Iron Dome, but unfortunately, one got through and caused light injuries in Israel.
Now, in response, Israeli forces launched airstrikes on Gaza. A total of 150 rockets are said to have been fired. The Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry says 25 people, including 9 children, died in the strikes. 108 others were reportedly wounded. The suffering is the same on both sides. Similar visuals have emerged from Gaza. They show women and children crying and running for cover. They show people rushing for medical supplies. Among the children who died was an 11-year-old boy. Hundreds of mourners attended his funeral.
Why did you kill him? They kill and there is no one to make them answer for it. The whole world is watching. It doesn't matter if they kill a child or a woman. There is no one to hold them accountable for it. Therefore, it doesn't matter if they kill a child.
As the violence continues, anti-Israel protests have erupted in several countries. In Turkey, protesters set Israeli flags on fire. Thousands demonstrated outside Israel's diplomatic missions in Ankara and Istanbul. Not too far away in Morocco, there were protests in Casablanca. Thousands came out to express their solidarity with Palestinians in Jerusalem. Same in Jordan. At least 1,500 people from all kinds of political backgrounds and ideologies rallied in Amman, demanding the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador to their country. Arab leaders have responded too. The Foreign Ministry of Saudi Arabia has condemned the violence. The statement says, and I'm quoting, "The kingdom calls upon the international community to hold the Israeli occupier responsible and to halt immediately this escalation that goes against every international norm and convention." The Foreign Ministry of Syria has reiterated these sentiments. It has said, and I'm quoting again, "The authorities of Israeli occupation and their flocks of settlers continue their unjust and shared aggression against the Palestinian people under a usurping occupation that does not respect the international law nor the Geneva Accords of 1949. Jordan's monarchy has condemned Israel's actions, and this is what their statement says. His Highness King Abdullah II ensured in a phone call with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas his rejection of the Israeli authorities' attempts to change the demographic situation in East Jerusalem. The Islamic world has united against Israel. Even countries that very recently normalized ties with Israel, they're speaking against it. Back in Jerusalem, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, remains undeterred. He has vowed to increase the frequency of the attacks. He says Hamas will be getting blows it cannot predict.
We are at the height of a campaign. Since yesterday, the IDF executed hundreds of attacks on Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza. We targeted commanders. We hit many of their quality targets. At the conclusion of a situational assessment, it was decided that both the might of the attacks and the frequency of the attacks will be increased. Hamas will be getting blows it didn't expect.
Yesterday we told you this conflict has all the makings of a third intifada. As both sides use indiscriminate force and inflict casualties, the question of who is right and who isn't is already going up in smoke. What remains is a festering conflict, a decades-old war that 5 peace deals could not end. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.